Good afternoon, or good morning in South Africa. We're very lucky today to have Doug Leather with us from REAP Consulting. We've been in the States and now we've moved over to South Africa. Good morning, Doug.
Morning, Ray. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. So how does the customer world look like from Johannesburg?
I don't think the customer world in Johannesburg, Ray, is any different to the customer world all over the world. I think organisations here are facing many of the same challenges as other global organisations. What I do believe is that the whole principle of customer management and customer experience management is certainly getting a little more airtime and is a little more visible at senior levels within organisations. But the challenges facing business here are exactly as they are elsewhere. And that really revolves around the ability to execute against the intentions.
Yeah, and so how do you approach the clients that you work with now? Has it changed in any way? Have you got a new approach?
Well, our approach, Ray, has been based primarily on a end-to-end methodology. And we've used that methodology in the past to interrogate a number of practices, cross-functional practices within an organization that we would expect to see a level of maturity in if the organization was serious about being customer-centric or building customer-centric capability. And that's an important principle because, if you don't know where you are, it becomes a little difficult to define exactly where you want to get to. So the methodologies and approaches we've used have enabled a very robust approach to determine that capability. We still use that as an underlying principle, but what we've done is we've introduced a bunch of additional modules that quantify a desired capability. So it's well and good understanding where we want to go, but we've got to understand the scale of the change needed cross-functionally. So we now work with organizations in a formal way at the executive level as well as the operational level to define that future. And we're then able to bridge that gap with an appropriate program that's built and based upon our experiences around the world, recognizing interdependencies of projects and capability build. And we're able to build that program. What's quite important in considering the business case behind this is really how to quantify the uplift that an organization would gain by building this customer-centric capability, as well as quantify some level of cost. So we've built those modules as well and go through a very formal process with the organization to determine exactly what those costs will be and what the appropriate financial uplift will be as well.
Okay. So I can imagine if you're speaking cross-functional, what sort of response do you get from the silo owners, from the marketing managers and the sales managers? Do they see this as a threat or an incursion?
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I mean, we find that we're only successful in engaging with organizations or even closing down very often with a deal, at board level. I mean, this is not an engagement generally that's sold into a functional area within a business. What does happen is that the ownership of the program very often is delegated or picked up by somebody in a functional area. But there's normally a very clear mandate of the necessity to review this, to look at it, to execute against it across the business in its entirety. And I responded to a LinkedIn discussion the other day where I think the question went along the lines of, is customer management execution negatively impacted as a result of being within the marketing department? And I mean, in certain instances it is, but it's impacted negatively in those instances where the chief marketing officer, is very brand centric rather than customer centric. And I, during the discussion, alluded to to an engagement that we had where the sponsor and the driver of the customer-centric initiative was actually the CIO.
Yeah.
You know, that individual, or he in this case, happened to be the most well-informed and understanding of the breadth and scale of customer management.
Mm-hmm. And to what extent do you find that businesses need to acquire new skills, or is it a rejiggling of the skills that they already have? Is there a big gap there?
Oh, there's a huge gap. I mean, and I think you and I and everybody else out there would attest to that merely because we're consumers. You know, think about it. I mean, who's the exemplar organization out there when it comes to customer centricity end to end? Very hard to quantify. But what we do find is we can find examples of exemplar organizations in certain areas of practice. But very few organizations, you know, if any, that can actually bring all of this together in such a way that collectively, functionally, they're able to design and deliver a unique and distinctive experience consistently. You know, so we don't see that. So going back to your question around integrate, the silo mentality, if you will, is probably the primary destructor of an organization able to build customer-centric capability. Mm-hmm. The challenge, whether or not you have a plan in place, is now to execute that and to get through the egos, to get through the ownerships, you know, that people have taken upon themselves in terms of moving the business forward.
Great. So if you, just in closing, if you had a couple of tips for somebody who's in a business and feels they would like to move it in a customer-centric direction, maybe they're not the CEO, maybe they're somewhere in one of those silos that we've spoken about. What would those tips be? How do you make the case for customer centricity?
Well, I think if you don't have the support for the CEO and the board, you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
You know, so straight away, that's what I'm saying, because what would happen in those instances is there may be some very solid intent, and there may even be some ad hoc initiatives or ad hoc programs that could well, you know, add value to the business if the outcome of those initiatives were adopted across the business. But without the support and the buy-in at the very top, waste of time.
Great. Well, I think I've heard that theme once or twice, that it's a long and lonely road if you don't have top-level support for customer centricity. So, Doug, thanks very much for that. Thanks for your contribution, and I'm sure we'll speak again soon. Thank you.
Right. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Great.